Feel the quiet weight of striving for perfection in your busiest moments. Today, let Zen wisdom gently guide you toward releasing that pressure. Discover how embracing life as it is, imperfect and fleeting, unlocks genuine peace. Share with us, what's one moment today where you felt pressured to be perfect? Include your time, location, and reflection in the comments below. Let your sharing be a step towards simplicity. Next, we explore the impermanent nature of all things. Welcome to this quiet moment. Settle into your breath. Feel the gentle rhythm of your body, the soft hum of the world around you. Today, we touch the heart of Zen wisdom, the impermanence of all things. It is not a heavy truth to carry, but a quiet truth to notice, like the way light shifts through a window, or the way a leaf drifts from a branch. Notice how tasks you planned, thoughts you held, and outcomes you imagined naturally shift and fade, like ripples on a pond after a stone has passed. This isn't failure. This is simply the universe's gentle rhythm, the very nature of existence. Perfectionism arises from holding tightly to a moment that was never meant to stay. It is a natural human impulse to seek stability, especially in our fast-paced world. But the very ground beneath us is always moving. We chase a perfect cup of coffee, a perfect conversation, a perfect day, only to find the cup is empty. The words have changed, and the day has turned to evening. The universe doesn't demand perfection, it simply is. A Zen master once sat by a window, watching steam rise from a cup of tea. He saw the steam gather, form a shape, and then dissolve completely back into the air, leaving no trace. He did not mourn the steam's disappearance, he simply observed its natural path. It was neither good nor bad, only what it was. This is the wisdom of impermanence. It is not about giving up, but about seeing clearly. When we see that a thought is passing, a feeling is shifting, a situation is changing, we stop fighting the current. We stop trying to freeze the moment, and instead we flow with it. This is the gentle release that comes when we stop demanding that things stay exactly as we wish them to be. Now, take a gentle pause. Close your eyes for just a moment. Bring to mind a simple moment you held as perfect today. Perhaps it was the quiet satisfaction of finishing a task, the warmth of sunlight on your skin during a morning walk, or the sound of a loved one's laughter. Hold that feeling. Now, notice how it has already shifted. The quiet satisfaction has faded into the busyness of the afternoon. The sunlight is gone, replaced by clouds. The laughter echoes, but the moment itself has moved on. This isn't loss, it's simply the natural unfolding. What was perfect, as you held it, was always meant to be fleeting. This is not a reason to feel sad, but a reason to feel more deeply connected to the present moment, which is the only moment that is truly here. When we accept that all things change, we naturally release our grip on rigid expectations. We stop measuring life against a fixed, impossible standard. We begin to see the beauty in the passing, the grace in the shift, the freedom that comes from not having to hold on. The universe moves, and so can we. Let go of the need for permanence and find peace in the gentle rhythm of now. This is the foundation we walk upon as we continue to explore letting go. Imagine the constant hum of your day pulling you forward, chasing an image of things perfectly arranged, perfectly done, perfectly controlled. This relentless pursuit of perfection, this tight grip on how things should be, often leaves us feeling exhausted and disconnected from the very life we are living. Today, let us gently release that grip and discover a different way to move through our ordinary moments. We begin not with grand gestures, but with the simple, often overlooked act of washing the dishes. In the Zen tradition, we understand that true peace is not found in distant, flawless ideals, but right here, in the texture of the present moment. When you wash the dishes, do not rush to finish, to reach the end of the task. Instead, slow down. Feel the cool water as it flows over your hands. Notice the slight warmth of the soapy suds. Hear the soft sound of the sponge against the ceramic bowl. The gentle clink of plates. Feel the motion of your hands as you scrub. The rhythm of the task. This is not about making the dishes perfectly spotless. It is about being fully present within the act itself. You are not striving for a perfect outcome. You are simply being present with the water, the sound, the motion. The dishwashing becomes a quiet anchor, pulling you firmly out of the swirling river of future worries or past regrets, and into the calm, clear stream of now. This is mindfulness in its most accessible form. It is the profound wisdom that emerges when we stop forcing the moment to be something it is not and simply allow it to be as it is. The perfection we seek is a mirage. The only perfection that ever truly exists is the perfection of the moment itself, right here, right now, with all its simple, unvarnished reality. So, for just 60 seconds today, choose one small task you do every day. It could be making your morning coffee, walking to your car, or even sitting down at your desk. Step into that task with full presence. Feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. Notice the sound of the water as you pour, or simply feel the solid ground beneath your feet as you take one step. Do not judge the task. Do not worry about how fast you are doing it. Simply be with the sensation, the sound, the movement. Let the task be the whole world for those 60 seconds. This small practice is not about adding more to your to-do list. It is about removing the invisible weight of expectation that we carry with us through every action. It is the gentle art of letting go of the need for everything to be perfect and discovering that the imperfect, fleeting moment is already whole, already complete. As you wash the dishes with awareness or make your coffee with presence, you begin to see that the frantic chase for perfection was the very thing causing your restlessness. The moment you stop striving for the flawless outcome, the moment you simply allow the water to be cool, the sound to be soft, the motion to be gentle, you find a deep, quiet peace. You find that the task itself, as it is happening, is sufficient. You realize that good enough is not a compromise. It is the natural state of being fully present. It is the moment where the simple act of being here, now, becomes perfect, exactly as it is. And this realization, this gentle shift in perspective, is the doorway to a life lived with far less burden and far more peace. This is the quiet truth that mindfulness reveals in the very heart of the ordinary, in the simple act of washing a dish. Good enough is already perfect. Imagine the soft rhythm of folding laundry, one garment at a time. Your hands move with gentle attention, feeling the fabric, smoothing the creases, placing it neatly on the pile. There is no frantic rush to finish 10 items quickly. No inner voice demanding each fold be absolutely flawless, a mirror of the bedsheet. Instead, you simply fold this single shirt, giving it your full presence, your whole heart. This simple act, done with mindful awareness, becomes the perfect expression of the moment. It is not about adding more steps, more effort, more striving for an impossible ideal. It is about finding the profound peace that comes from doing this one thing, fully, completely, right here, right now. This is the gentle art of doing less, the heart of mindfulness in action. Perfectionism, that quiet, demanding inner critic, constantly whispers for more time, more detail, more effort, more to make things truly right, truly perfect. It sees the unfinished task and feels the weight of everything that remains. Mindfulness, however, asks for enough. It asks for the quality of presence in the single action before us, not the imagined perfection of the entire pile. It recognizes that the true value lies not in the number of tasks completed, but in the depth of attention given to each one. To complete one task fully, with care and presence, is infinitely more meaningful than to half doing 10, rushing through each with distraction and mental clutter. The energy wasted on unnecessary details, the stress of chasing an unattainable ideal, dissolves when we simply focus on the task at hand, doing it well, without adding extra steps. Reflect gently on your own day. What small, unnecessary step did you add, driven by the desire for perfection? Perhaps you spent extra minutes arranging your desk just so, even though the work was already clear. Maybe you revised an email 3 times, seeking a tone that was already perfectly appropriate for the recipient. Maybe you hesitated, adding one more check to a simple task, convinced that one more action would make it truly complete, when it was already sufficient. Notice the subtle tension this created, the small weight you carried. Now, consider the calm that comes from releasing that extra step. The space you create allows for a deeper breath, a clearer focus on the next natural action, without the burden of the unneeded. This shift from more to enough is not about lowering standards. It is about aligning our efforts with the natural flow of the present moment. It is the quiet realization that the task itself, when approached with full attention, is already perfect as it is. There is no need to add more layers of worry, more intricate planning, more striving to be better than the moment allows. The shirt folds neatly because you're folding it, not because you are trying to fold it perfectly. The work gets done because you are doing it, not because you're trying to do it flawlessly. This gentle shift from striving to presence, from demanding more to finding enough, is the foundation for releasing the tight grip of outcome attachment. It prepares the mind to rest in the simple, sufficient reality of what is, without the constant pull of what might have been or what should be. This is the quiet wisdom of the present moment, unfolding softly as you fold the laundry, as you write a single line, as you simply breathe. It is enough. It has always been enough. In the rush of our days, we often miss the quiet grace that surrounds us because we are chasing an idea of perfect moments that never arrive. We hold tight to a vision of how things should be, how they must look, how they must feel, and in that grip, we lose touch with the simple reality of what is. True peace, the deep calm that settles in the bones, does not come from making everything flawless. It comes from noticing the small, fleeting beauty that already exists right here, right now, in the ordinary. This is the gentle truth of impermanence we began to uncover. Everything changes, including our need for things to be perfect. The moment we release that need, we find peace not in some distant ideal, but in the very texture of the present. Imagine the steam rising from your morning coffee cup, a soft swirl against the cool air. Notice how it twists, forms, and vanishes in seconds. It is not a perfect circle, not a controlled shape, yet there is a quiet elegance in its brief, imperfect dance. Or listen to the sudden, clear call of a bird outside your window, a sound that cuts through the noise of your thoughts for just a moment. It is not a symphony played just for you, yet its simplicity holds a profound peace. These are not distractions from your important work. They are the very essence of peace itself, living in the imperfect, transient moment. Perfectionism blinds us to this. It makes us dismiss the steam as messy, the bird song as irrelevant, because it does not fit our rigid idea of what should be noticed. But in reality, these small, fleeting moments are where peace resides, not in some grand, flawless achievement we imagine for the future. So today, try this small practice. When you notice something seemingly small, a leaf falling, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain on the roof, the steam from your cup, pause just for a moment. Stop the internal chatter. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feel the air move in and out. Let the small beauty of that moment fill your awareness. Do not try to hold it. Do not try to make it last. Simply be present with it, as it is, imperfect and perfectly here. This is not adding another task to your list. It is releasing one. It is the quiet act of stepping out of the striving and stepping into the simple wonder of being alive in this very moment. You might find that after those 3 breaths, the weight you carry feels a little lighter, the next task a little less urgent, because you have touched the peace that was already there, waiting in the small things. As we find peace in these small moments, we begin to see how much of our effort is spent chasing a perfection that is not real. we start to question the need for grand, flawless outcomes when the truest peace is found in the quiet acceptance of what is. The path forward becomes not about adding more to our lives, but about seeing more deeply within them. This gentle shift from seeking perfection to embracing the present moment is the foundation we will build upon. Remember the quiet peace of folding laundry, where you simply attended to each fold without needing the pile to be flawless. That calm presence, that sense of enough, is the foundation we now gently deepen. We move beyond simply noticing the present moment to releasing our grip on what that moment must produce. This is the heart of non-attachment to outcomes. We often carry the heavy weight of, will this be perfect? Or will it succeed? As if the universe depends on our perfect execution. But true peace comes when we understand that your effort is the gift. The result is a gift from the universe. You cannot control the outcome, only the quality of your attention in this very moment. Imagine standing at a tea kettle, steam rising gently. You carefully pour the water over the leaves, watching the vibrant color bloom in the cup. Your focus is entirely on the pouring, the warmth, the scent filling the air. You are not thinking, will the tea be strong enough? Or does this cup look perfect? You are simply pouring, fully present in the act. This is the practice. The tea's strength, its taste, the cup's appearance, these are not yours to command. They are part of the unfolding. The universe's quiet contribution. Your effort, the care in pouring, the attention to the steam, is the gift you offer to this moment. The result is simply the tea you receive. Ask yourself now, as you sit with this thought, what can I control right now? Not, will this be perfect? Your control lies only in the next breath, the next step, the next thought you choose to hold. When did you last feel that deep, unexpected relief after stopping to fix something that wasn't broken? Perhaps it was a conversation where you stopped trying to make someone agree, or a project where you released the need for a specific outcome. You stopped forcing and the tension dissolved. You felt lighter, freer, because you were no longer fighting the present. That relief was the universe's gift, given freely when you stopped clinging. This shift is not about giving up. It is about opening your hands to receive what is offered. It is the quiet courage to begin without demanding perfection, to act without needing the outcome to be a certain shape. It is understanding that the journey itself, the effort poured into the present, is the true reward. The universe is not waiting for your perfect performance. It is already present in the act of trying, in the simple presence of your effort. When you release the need for a specific result, you create space. Space for the unexpected gift of the moment. Space for the next step to emerge, unburdened by the weight of, what if it's not perfect? This non-attachment makes space for the next step, embracing imperfect efforts. In the rush of modern life, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of imagining perfect futures while missing the present moment. We picture flawless outcomes, perfect projects, perfect relationships, perfect days, and build elaborate stories around them in our minds. This future perfection, however, is not a reality to be chased, but a story you're telling yourself right now. It's a narrative spun from worry, not truth. When we cling to this imagined future, we create unnecessary anxiety, pulling our attention away from what is actually happening beneath our feet. The present moment, with all its imperfections, becomes invisible because we're so focused on what might be. Consider the simple act of making tea. A Zen master might sit quietly, focusing only on the steam rising from the kettle, the sound of water pouring, the careful placement of the leaves. They do not worry about whether the tea will be perfect, whether the cup will hold just the right temperature, or whether the guest will be pleased. Their attention rests entirely in the next small action, pouring the water, waiting for the steam to rise, feeling the warmth of the cup. The outcome, the perfect cup of tea, is not their concern. Their focus is the process itself, the unfolding of this moment. This is not indifference. It is deep engagement with what is real right now. The perfection they seek is not in the future result, but in the mindful action of the present. This is the practice we invite you to try now. Take a moment. Write down one future worry that has been weighing on you. A work deadline, a conversation, a perceived failure. Now, gently ask yourself, is this real right now? Is this worry happening in this breath, in this moment? Notice how the question softens the grip of the story. The worry may still be there, but it loses its power to disturb your present peace. It is simply a thought, not a current event. Breathe into your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Notice the air moving in and out of your lungs. Now, shift your focus to what you need to do right here, right now. What is the very next small step? Perhaps it is opening your laptop, taking one deep breath, or simply acknowledging the feeling without judgment. This is the path of release. It is not about ignoring the future, but about stepping out of the anxious story and into the clarity of this moment. When we stop chasing perfect futures, we see the perfection in current actions. The tea maker's attention to the steam, the writer's focus on the next sentence, the gardener's care for the single plant in their hands. They all find peace, not in the distant outcome, but in the precise, imperfect act of doing what needs to be done now. This is where true freedom lives. It is not found in controlling the future, but in resting fully in the present action, however small. And in this rest, we discover that the effort itself, the simple act of being present, is already complete, already perfect. It is the universe working through us, not against us. When we release the demand for a perfect future, the present moment reveals its own quiet, unshakable perfection. This is the shift that begins to dissolve anxiety, not by denying the future, but by honoring the reality of now. And in this honoring, we find not just peace, but the very essence of wisdom. Dear friend, in the quiet space between breaths, we often find ourselves clutching tightly to the illusion of control. We try to fix every detail, shape every outcome, and smooth every perceived imperfection in our busy world. This constant effort to hold things steady creates a subtle tension in the shoulders, a tightness in the chest, a quiet hum of anxiety. We forget that life flows like a river, not a rigid path. Trying to force it into a shape that suits our limited view only creates more ripples of stress. True peace comes not from tightening our grip, but from releasing it. Control is not a tool we wield, it is a mirage we chase. When we surrender the need to control what cannot be controlled, we create space for the natural flow of things to unfold. This is not passivity, it is a deep trust that the present moment holds all that is needed. Consider the simple act of watching ripples on a pond. If you try to stop the ripples, to make the water perfectly still, you only stir up more disturbance. Your hand moving against the water creates new waves, making the surface even more chaotic. The water doesn't need your intervention, it simply moves in its own way. The ripples are part of its nature, not a flaw to be corrected. When you stop trying to fix the water, you can simply watch the gentle motion, see the way light dances on each curve, and feel the calm of the whole scene. This is the space we create when we release the need to control. We notice the tension rising as we try to fix a situation, perhaps a conversation going differently than planned, or a task not unfolding as expected. Instead of tightening further, we take a slow breath. Inhale the air. Feel the space in your lungs. Exhale the tightness. Breathe in, out, and notice the tension softening. Just a little. The situation doesn't disappear, but the struggle around it lessens. The river continues to flow, and we are simply present within it. Take a gentle pause now. Reflect softly on your day. What situation did you try to control that wasn't truly yours to manage? Perhaps it was a colleague's reaction, a child's mood, or a project's timeline. Notice the feeling that arose when you tried to steer it. Was it frustration? Anxiety? A sense of being overwhelmed? There is no judgment here. Simply notice. Let that awareness settle like the pond settling after the ripple. This noticing is the first step of surrender. It is not about giving up, but about recognizing the limits of our control and choosing to rest within the flow of what is. When we stop fighting the current, we find a deeper strength in simply being present with life as it is, not as we imagine it should be. This surrender is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of effortless action. It dissolves the exhausting battle against reality and opens the door to seeing the quiet beauty in things exactly as they are. The slight imperfection, the unexpected turn, the natural rhythm of the moment all become part of the unfolding grace. This surrender paves the way for seeing beauty in life's natural imperfections. In the quiet hum of a busy morning, your inbox glows with a single email draft waiting to be sent. You hesitate, polishing phrases until the words feel flawless, the tone perfect, the timing impeccable. Yet the clock ticks, and the moment slips away. This is the quiet trap of perfectionism, a silent thief stealing your energy while promising a reward that never arrives. True wisdom invites you to notice this tension within you. The email, though imperfect, sent now, carries your warmth of intention into the world. The unsent, perfectly crafted message remains a thought, a ghost of potential, never touching another soul. A flawed action begun is always more alive than a perfect one that never leaves your hands. Consider the old Zen master who cherished a simple teacup. One morning, a servant accidentally cracked it, leaving a hairline fracture. The master took it gently, examined the flaw, and said nothing. He continued using it for tea, the crack a quiet part of its story. Later, a student asked why he didn't discard it. The master replied, "This cup holds tea, not perfection. The crack is where the light enters." The cup's beauty wasn't in its flawlessness, but in its honest, lived existence. Its imperfection was not a failure, but a mark of having been used, having held the warmth of life. So it is with our actions. The email, the project, the simple task begun with care, these are not failures if they are real. They are the cup holding tea, the crack holding the light. This is not about lowering standards, but about releasing the burden of the impossible. It is about understanding that intention and action are the true measure, not the illusion of a flawless outcome. You do not need to wait for perfect clarity, perfect timing, or perfect words. You only need to begin where you are, with what you have and with the simple intention to act. Today, invite yourself to do one small thing without the need for polish. Reply to one message, share a thought, start that one paragraph. Send the draft as it is, knowing it carries your presence. Feel the gentle relief as you release the grip on the outcome. The anxiety of waiting for perfection dissolves in the quiet space of simply doing. Let this small act become a gentle reminder. When the urge to over-edit or delay arises, pause and ask yourself, is this action truly mine? Or is it a shadow of a perfect image I fear might not be good enough? Your intention, your willingness to step forward in the messy, beautiful now, is the essence of your practice. It is the quiet courage that moves life forward, not the stillness of waiting for something perfect that may never arrive. The email sent, the cup used, the task begun, these are not mistakes. They are the natural rhythm of life unfolding. Each imperfect moment a step toward connection, not a deviation from some imagined ideal. Now we see how imperfection isn't a flaw, but a sign of life itself. A testament to the courage to act in the fullness of the present moment. As we've been learning to release the need for control and embrace life's natural flow, a deeper invitation unfolds. It asks us to look differently at what we might call flaws, not as failures to fix, but as the very essence of life's authenticity. This is the heart of wabi-sabi, the ancient Japanese aesthetic that finds profound beauty in the imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It is not about seeking flawlessness, but about seeing the unique character held within cracks, asymmetry, and the gentle patina of time. The beauty lies not in the absence of imperfection, but in its presence, revealing the story of existence itself. Imagine a simple tea ceremony. The bowl is not perfectly round, its glaze uneven, perhaps bearing a hairline crack from a long ago moment. Yet, when light catches that crack, just so, it glows with a soft, inner radiance. The bowl feels alive, not sterile. It speaks of being used, of weathering time, of holding warmth and connection. This chipped cup is not a mistake. It is uniquely shaped by its journey. It holds the story of your hands that held it, the steam that rose from it, the quiet moments shared. It is yours in its specific, unrepeatable way. We often see our own imperfect coffee cup, the one with a chip on the rim, the one that holds a little more than it should, as something to be replaced, something lacking. But Wabi Sabi asks us to see it differently. See it as a testament to the life it has lived, the moments it has held, the warmth it has shared. It is not broken. It is beautifully, authentically whole in its own way. This perspective shifts our gaze inward. Look around your own workspace, your own moment. What is the flaw that makes it feel truly alive? Is it the slightly crooked photo of a loved one, the worn groove on your favorite chair from years of use, the faint smudge on the window where sunlight pools, or the single, stubborn leaf on your desk plant that refuses to be perfectly aligned? These are not distractions to be erased. They are the quiet, gentle markings of your presence, your routine, your lived experience. They speak of time passing, of care taken, of life unfolding exactly as it is. That smudge isn't dirt, it's a reminder of the sun that warmed your space today. That crooked photo isn't misplaced. It's a piece of your heart placed where it felt right. These are the details that give your space its soul, its unique rhythm. They are the cracks where light enters, the asymmetry that makes the whole picture interesting. This isn't about accepting mediocrity. It is about releasing the tight grip of perfectionism that makes us feel we must hide our true, unfolding selves. It is about recognizing that the very things we judge in ourselves and our surroundings, the uneven edge, the slight tremor in our voice, the project that didn't go exactly as planned, are not flaws in the journey, but the natural texture of being human. They are the marks of our engagement, our effort, our presence in this moment. When we stop fighting against the natural grain of life and begin to see its inherent beauty in every imperfect line, we step into a deeper sense of peace. We realize that our imperfections are not separate from us. They are woven into the fabric of who we are, making us uniquely and beautifully ourselves. This perspective transforms how we view our own imperfections as part of our truth. In a world chasing flawless images, we often miss the quiet truth held in nature's gentle embrace. Nature knows no concept of perfection as we define it. It simply is, unfolding with a beauty that thrives in its own unique rhythm. Look closely at a single leaf on a tree outside your window. Notice how its edge might be slightly jagged, its color uneven, its veins tracing a path no other leaf shares. There is no perfect leaf, only this one leaf, whole and complete in its own quiet way. Its uniqueness is its strength, not its flaw. Consider a tree growing in a park, its branches bending with the wind, not against it. Perhaps one branch angles sharply, not smoothly, as we might imagine a perfect tree should. Yet this very crookedness is part of its story, its resilience. It has weathered storms, adapted to the wind's pressure, and found its own way to reach the light. The branch's curve is not a mistake. It is the mark of life lived fully, responding to the world without resistance. The tree does not apologize for its shape. It simply exists, strong and whole as it is. This is the lesson nature offers us so softly. It does not strive for an impossible standard. It does not compare itself to other trees. It simply is, and in that being, it reveals profound beauty. It invites us to see our own lives with the same gentle acceptance. When we feel the weight of needing to be flawless, to have every moment perfectly arranged, nature whispers a different truth. Our own perceived imperfections, the slightly crooked line, the unfinished task, the moment of hesitation, are not signs of failure. They are the very texture of our authentic existence, as natural and necessary as the tree's branch. Let us try this simple practice together now. Find a quiet spot, perhaps near a window or outside where you can observe nature. Sit softly. Let your eyes rest on one detail that feels imperfect to you. A leaf with a missing piece, a stone with an odd shape, a cloud that seems to drift without purpose. Do not judge it. Do not try to make it better in your mind. Simply notice it. Observe its unique form, its quiet presence. Breathe. Allow yourself to be with this small, imperfect thing for 2 minutes. Let the simple act of seeing it without criticism settle into your bones. Feel the quiet relief that comes from releasing the need to fix it. In this moment of gentle observation, you touch the heart of what nature teaches. You see that imperfection is not a lack, not a deficiency to be fixed. It is the very ground of authenticity, the signature of life itself. The crooked branch is not broken. It is the tree's way of being. The leaf's unique shape is not flawed. It is its story written in green. Our own imperfect moments, our own crooked paths, are not errors in the grand design. They are the essential, beautiful fabric of our being, woven with the same natural grace as the tree's branches. Nature's example is clear, gentle, and profound. It shows us that to be imperfect is not to be less, but to be more truly and fully ourselves. This is the deep peace that comes from seeing the world and ourselves as we truly are. Nature's example teaches us that imperfection is not deficiency but authenticity. Look around your workspace. Notice the papers stacked like a small mountain, the coffee cup holding its last dregs, the pen lying just where it fell. In our rush to create order, We often label this as chaos, a sign of failure. But what if this very space, this gentle disorder, holds something precious? A messy desk is not a reflection of your worth. It is the living energy of your work, the tangible trace of your thoughts and actions. It is the quiet hum of creation, not the echo of inadequacy. The dust on your keyboard, the half-finished sketch beside your laptop, the sticky note with a vital thought. These are not errors. They are the natural, unfolding story of your engagement with the world, written in the language of presence. Consider the ancient tea ceremony. A master once chose a chipped ceramic cup for a guest, its floor a small crack running through the glaze. The guest, accustomed to flawless porcelain, felt a flicker of disappointment. But the master smiled. "This cup," he said, "holds the warmth of the tea more deeply because of its crack." The floor is not a mistake. It is where the tea's spirit flows into the cup, and the cup's spirit flows back. The imperfect vessel became more beautiful, more alive, precisely because it was not forced into sterile perfection. Its story was real, its history visible. In that moment, the crack was not a flaw but a feature, a testament to the cup's journey and its capacity to hold the tea's essence. So we ask ourselves gently, when did a messy space actually help you create? Perhaps it was the cluttered desk that held all the scattered notes leading to your breakthrough idea. Maybe it was the slightly chaotic kitchen where you discovered a new recipe while the flour dusted the counter. Remember that time you found the perfect word in the midst of the papers, or the unexpected connection made while navigating a room that wasn't tidy. These moments weren't hindered by the mess. They were nurtured by it. The space held the possibility, the energy, the very life of the work. This is the invitation. Clean up only what truly serves you. What makes your focus clearer or your hands lighter? Let the rest remain. The coffee stain on your notebook, the pile of books by the bed, the sketchbook left open. These are not failures to be erased. They are the quiet witnesses to your life, the soft evidence of your presence. They tell the story of your engagement, your effort, your humanity. When you choose to see the energy in the arrangement, not the judgment of the arrangement, you release the tight grip of perfection. You begin to understand that the beauty is not in the absence of dust, but in the presence of life. This mindset, seeing the story in the scatter, the energy in the disorder, prepares us to accept our imperfect efforts without shame. It teaches us that our work, our days, our very being is not meant to be a flawless artifact, but a living, breathing, beautifully imperfect journey. Think of the last time a friend missed a detail you hoped they'd remember, or a partner seemed distant when you needed connection. That familiar tightness in your chest, the quiet judgment whispering they should be different. We carry these moments like heavy stones, forgetting people are not broken vessels to be fixed, but living, breathing works of art in constant becoming. People aren't perfect. They are beautifully human, marked by the same gentle flaws, quiet struggles, and unexpected grace we carry within ourselves. This is the heart of accepting imperfection in relationships, It begins not with changing others, but with gently turning the light inward. When you notice yourself thinking, "They're so careless," or "They should be more patient," pause. Ask softly, "What am I judging in myself right now?" That judgment of another often mirrors the unspoken standard we hold too tightly for our own hearts. It is not about blame, it is a gentle mirror showing where we might be holding ourselves too rigidly. In the Zen tradition, a master might hold a simple, cracked cup. The crack is not a flaw to be hidden. It is part of the cup's story, its history, its unique way of holding tea. The master does not see a broken object, but a vessel that has held water, weathered time, and now holds space for a quiet moment. The flaw is not the absence of beauty, it is the very texture of it. Our relationships are like that cup, worn by life, shaped by moments of connection and distance, holding both the water and the story of how it came to be. They are not meant to be flawless, but to be real. So, today, perhaps share one small imperfection about yourself with a friend. Not a grand confession, but something light. Something you carry easily. "I still get flustered when I have to speak up in meetings." Or, "I forget to water the plants sometimes." Say it with a soft smile, not as a burden, but as an honest part of your human story. Notice how the space opens when you release the need for perfection in that small moment. See how your friend's response might be a gentle, "Oh, I do that too," creating a moment of true connection, not correction. This simple act is not about revealing weakness, it is about offering a shared humanity. A quiet acknowledgement that we are all learning, all growing, all holding our own small cracks. It dissolves the barrier of expectation and makes room for genuine presence. As we accept others' imperfections, we soften our own self-criticism. We begin to see that the very things we judge in others are often the same things we fear in ourselves, and that the space for growth is not found in perfection, but in the tender, honest embrace of what is. The word "must" is a cage we build with our own hands, holding us tight in a cage of expectation. It whispers demands into the quiet spaces of our minds, making every task feel like a test we must pass perfectly or face failure. Notice how it tightens your shoulders, how it steals the light from the present moment. The simple act of replacing must with could or might is not just a word swap, it is a gentle release of the cage door. Could opens a door to possibility. Might invites curiosity. Instead of, "I must finish this perfectly before I sleep," try, "I could work on this a little more tonight," or "I might share this draft as it is and refine it later." This small shift in language softens the edges of pressure, allowing room for breath. Consider the quiet moment of a tea ceremony. A monk prepares the tea, his hands moving with deep focus. The water pours, and a single drop spills onto the wooden table. He does not pause, does not frown. He simply continues, his attention returning to the next step, the next pour, without a thought for the spill. His posture holds no tension, no need to erase the imperfect drop. The tea is served, the moment is complete, and the spill is simply part of the unfolding. It is not a flaw to be fixed, it is a natural part of the flow, as quiet and inevitable as sunlight through leaves. The monk does not say, "I must make a perfect pour," because he understands that perfection is not the point. The point is the offering, the presence in the act. Now, gently turn that awareness inward. Ask yourself, what would I do if I weren't afraid of being imperfect? Picture a recent moment when must created unnecessary stress. Perhaps it was a work email you edited 20 times, or a conversation you rehearsed in your head until it felt unnatural. Remember the tightness in your chest, the sleepless night, the way the fear of a small mistake amplified into a mountain. When did must turn a simple task into a burden? When did it make you feel like you were failing simply for being human? This reflection is not about judgment, it is about recognition. It is the quiet understanding that the cage was never necessary, that the stress we carry was built from a single word we repeated too often. This practice of softening the language in our minds is the quiet work of liberation. It dissolves the pressure we place on ourselves and on others. It allows us to step out of the cage, to feel the air on our skin, to see the beauty in the imperfect moment just as it is. The spill on the table is not a failure, it is part of the story. The email sent with a typo is not a mistake. It is a step forward. When we let go of must, we make space for a different kind of presence. A presence that is not striving for an impossible ideal, but simply being here, now, with all our human imperfection. This reframing makes room for the next step, embracing good enough as a gift. In the rush of our modern lives, we often chase a shimmering ideal that leaves us exhausted long before we reach it. We polish emails until the words feel brittle, rewrite messages until our fingers ache, and hold our breath until the final detail feels flawless. This relentless pursuit of perfection isn't a path to peace. It's a trap that drains the very joy from our work and our days. It's time to find the quiet space between effort and exhaustion where true ease lives. This space is called good enough. It's not a surrender. It's a gentle release from the weight we carry for no reason. It's recognizing that the task before us, completed with care, is already sufficient for this moment. Imagine a simple scene in a quiet Zen monastery. A monk washes the same bowl each morning. Years ago, he would scrub until the bowl felt cold and smooth under his fingers. Convinced that only absolute perfection was worthy of the tea he would soon serve. One day, a senior monk watched him work, his shoulders tight with the effort of making the bowl perfect. The senior monk gently took the bowl, not to wash it himself, but to show him. He held it up, the water still glistening, and said, "This bowl holds the tea. It is clean. It is ready. It does not need to be perfect to be good." The younger monk looked at the bowl, saw it was clean, and felt a sudden lightness. He didn't need to make it flawless. He needed only to make it clean for the moment. That moment of acceptance, of letting go of the unattainable standard, was the true beginning of his practice. The bowl was good enough, and so was the moment. This is the invitation we carry forward. When you finish a report, a message, or simply put the dishes away, pause. Don't reach for the next tiny adjustment. Instead, speak softly to yourself. This is good enough for now. Say it with the same warmth you might offer a friend who has done their best. Celebrate the completion, the act of moving forward, not the impossible standard of flawlessness. This simple phrase dissolves the old pressure. It acknowledges the work you've done without demanding more. It says, I am present here, and this is sufficient. It is not a compromise. It is a profound act of self-compassion, a recognition that your effort matters, not your ability to erase every trace of humanity from the result. Notice how your body feels when you say those words. Do your shoulders drop? Does the tightness in your chest soften? This is the shift. It's the quiet moment where the frantic energy of must transforms into the calm acceptance of good enough. You are not lowering your standards. You are releasing the false standard that was causing you pain. You are returning to the natural state of being, where effort and rest exist in harmony, where completion is celebrated, not deferred to some future point of perfection. This practice is not about settling for less. It is about seeing clearly what is already enough. It is about honoring the work you have done without adding the burden of what could be. When you say, "This is good enough for now," you are not closing the door on growth. You are opening the door to the next step, the next moment, with a clear heart and rested hands. You are freeing yourself from the exhausting chase, making space for the quiet dignity of simply being present with what is. When good enough becomes our standard, we stop chasing unattainable perfection. We step into the peace that already lives within the completed task, the finished email, the bowl washed clean and ready for tea. The path forward is not paved with flawless stones, but with the steady, gentle steps of what is sufficient, what is here, what is good enough. Imagine the weight of your to-do list pressing down, each item demanding absolute completion before you can breathe. Now, picture stepping back from that urgency. Notice how the tightness in your shoulders begins to ease, not because the task is done, but simply because you stop fighting its unfinished state. An unfinished task isn't failure. It's a living, breathing part of your day, a natural current in the stream of your life. It holds potential, not judgment. When you release the grip of must be finished now, a quiet shift occurs. The frantic energy of forcing completion dissolves, replaced by a deep, unexpected calm. You feel the tension drop, not because you abandon the task, but because you stop demanding it be perfect. Consider the Zen garden. Its beauty isn't found in perfectly raked gravel or flawlessly placed stones. It's in the gentle slope of a path worn smooth by feet. The moss softening the edges of a stone, the way a single, imperfectly placed pine branch frames the view. The garden isn't a project to be finished. It's a space to be experienced, moment by moment, embracing the natural flow of growth and change. It exists in a state of gentle, ongoing becoming. This is the essence we touch when we let go of the pressure to complete everything perfectly. The task itself becomes part of the landscape of your presence, not a barrier to it. Reflect for a moment. When did you last feel that wave of relief? Perhaps it was when you sent an email that wasn't perfectly polished but got the job done. Or when you shared a sketch that was a little messy, yet it sparked a real connection. Maybe it was when you finally stopped trying to make your child's lunch look like a picture and simply served them a healthy meal with love. Remember the feeling. The shoulders dropping, the mind quieting, the simple relief of "it's done enough." That moment wasn't about settling, it was about releasing the burden of an impossible standard. It was the quiet dignity of meeting the moment as it is, with all its gentle imperfections. This calm isn't passive resignation. It's active presence. It's recognizing that the energy spent wrestling with should and must could instead be given to simply being here, with the task as it is. The unfinished task becomes a gentle reminder to breathe into the space it occupies, rather than a source of anxiety. It's the space where you find your own quiet dignity, not in the flawless outcome, but in the willingness to engage fully with the imperfect, unfolding reality of now. This calm naturally invites us to question the should thoughts that fuel perfectionism. It leads us to ask not, "Why isn't this perfect?" but "What is this task asking of me right now, in this imperfect moment?" This gentle shift from demanding completion to engaging with what is the heart of true freedom. Consider the simple act of choosing a cup of tea. You stand before the cabinet, perhaps considering which blend to brew. The mind might already begin its familiar loop. This one is too strong. That one too mild. The perfect choice must exist somewhere. But what if the perfect choice was simply the one you reach for right now? Every choice we make is inherently imperfect, shaped by limited information, fleeting moments, and the simple reality of being human. It is not a flaw, it is the very texture of life. The burden lifts when we stop searching for a flawless decision and instead recognize that the choice itself, imperfect as it is, belongs entirely to us. This is the gentle invitation offered by the present moment. Choose what serves you now, not what might please an impossible standard. In the Zen tradition, this understanding is often embodied in the simplest acts. Imagine a monk preparing tea for a guest. The water might not be precisely at the ideal temperature. The leaves might not swirl in the perfect pattern. The cup might hold a slight imperfection in its glaze. Yet, the monk pours with full attention, not seeking perfection in the swirl, but presence in the pouring. The tea is offered, received, and enjoyed without the weight of right or wrong attached to the vessel. The focus is not on the absence of flaw, but on the simple, complete act of sharing warmth and presence. The tea is not less than because it lacks perfection. It is simply tea, served with care in this moment. The monk's practice is not about achieving flawlessness, but about releasing the need for it, finding peace within the natural flow of things, This is where freedom lives. It is the quiet relief that follows when we stop overthinking the small decision about which path to take, which email to write first, which item to purchase. Try it now. Make a small choice without the internal debate. Choose the green tea instead of the black. Pick the path that feels most accessible right now. Do not seek the perfect option. Seek the sufficient one. Then, simply notice what happens. Feel the subtle release as the mental chatter about alternatives fades. Notice the lightness in your shoulders, the softening of your breath. This is not a compromise. It is a return to your natural state of being. It is the deep calm that arises when we stop demanding perfection from life and instead meet it with acceptance, holding the space for the imperfect, the real, the present. This shift from demanding right to embracing serves me now is profound. It transforms the experience of making choices from a source of anxiety into a gentle practice of self-trust. Each imperfect choice becomes an opportunity to affirm your own wisdom, to remember that you are enough, and that your choices, however small, are valid. The task is not to become perfect, but to stop resisting the imperfect reality of your choices. The unfinished project, the slightly messy room, the email sent without triple checking. These are not failures. They are simply the natural, unpolished fabric of living, woven with the threads of your present effort. Releasing the demand for perfection in these moments is not giving up. It is finally allowing yourself to breathe. Questioning the persistent should thoughts that haunt our choices is the bridge that leads us directly into mindful presence. When we gently ask, is this should serving me or just creating more weight? We step out of the past and the future and land fully in the quiet space of now. This is the freedom found in imperfect choices, the quiet dignity of simply being here, making do and finding peace in the doing. In the constant hum of our modern lives, where demands pile up and the voice whispering, "You should have done better," echoes in the quiet moments, a simple breath can become a gentle revolution. We carry the weight of perfectionism like an invisible burden, believing that only flawless effort brings worth. Yet this very belief fuels the stress cycle, tightening our chest and pulling us further from the peace we seek. Today, we turn our attention to a quiet, powerful practice that meets these thoughts not with struggle but with awareness. When the thought of perfection arises, or you catch yourself saying, "I should have done better," pause. Place one hand gently on your belly and take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feel the air. Expand your lower ribs, then gently release. This simple act of breathing into your belly interrupts the stress cycle before it escalates into anxiety or self-criticism. It is not about forcing calm, but gently acknowledging the thought and returning to your body's natural rhythm. This is mindfulness in action, not a complex meditation, but a natural anchor available to you right now. Consider the ancient potter at work. Her hands shape clay on the wheel, and a small imperfection appears in the curve of a bowl. The instinct might be to discard it, to chase the illusion of a perfect form. But the wise potter pauses. She notices the slight wobble, feels the cool earth beneath her fingers, and breathes. In that breath, she sees the bowl not as flawed, but as a unique expression of the moment, of her hands, of the clay's nature. She accepts the gentle curve, knowing it holds water just as well. This is not resignation, it is presence. It is the moment the potter releases the demand for perfection and finds the bowl sufficient, beautiful in its own way. Her breath brings her back to the clay, the wheel, the task before her, not to the judgment of what it could have been. This is the shift we practice, meeting the should with the simple reality of the breath. So when you feel that familiar tightening, that inner critic whispering about what you missed or what you could have done differently, do not chase the thought away. Instead, let it be there for a moment. Then breathe. Breathe into your belly for 3 slow, soft breaths. Feel the ground beneath you, the air moving in and out. Notice how the critical voice softens, how the tightness in your shoulders begins to ease. This is not ignoring the task, it is approaching it with a clear mind. It is recognizing that the task itself, right now, is what matters, not the impossible standard we carry. You are not failing because the bowl is slightly crooked. You are simply being human, and that is enough. This practice of mindful breathing transforms the moment. It turns the should into a simple is, and the I should have done better into a gentle pause. A return to the present where the task unfolds naturally, without the burden of perfection. Breathing anchors us to the present, where should thoughts lose power. In the quiet space we cultivated through mindful breathing, where the frantic pace of the day began to soften, we now gently turn our attention to the quiet voice inside that whispers should. This is the subtle mental habit we often mistake for truth. Notice how should arises. I should be more productive. I should have prepared better. I should be calmer. It arrives like a familiar shadow, making us feel we are falling short. But pause. This should is not an absolute rule written in stone. It is merely a thought, a habit of the mind, often learned from others or from our own harsh expectations. It is not reality. It is a story we tell ourselves. Consider this simple Zen moment. A monk carefully prepares tea for a guest. His movements precise, mindful. As he pours, a single drop spills onto the wooden table. Instantly, a thought arises, I should not have spilled it. He feels the familiar tightness in his chest, the slight shame. But then he pauses. He asks himself softly, who decided spilling a drop was wrong? Does this thought help me serve my guest well? Or does it only create more tension? He looks at the small spill, sees it as simply water on wood, not a failure. He continues his tea offering with the same calm presence, the spill forgotten, the should dissolved like mist in sunlight, revealing the simple act of pouring, the moment itself, as sufficient. Now, bring this gentle questioning to your own life. Reflect on a should thought that caused you stress this week. Perhaps it was, I should have handled that email more perfectly, or I should be further along in my project. Sit with it for a moment. Ask, who decided this was a rule? Was it a teacher? A parent? A societal expectation? Or simply your own inner critic? Then ask, does this thought serve me? Does it help me act with kindness towards myself and others? Or does it only drain my energy and make me feel inadequate? Notice how the question itself shifts the energy. It doesn't demand you stop thinking should, but it creates a space between you and the thought, a space where you can choose a different response. This is not about dismissing responsibility, but about releasing the unnecessary burden of perfection. When we question should, we see it for what it is, a mental construct, not a command from the universe. We begin to recognize that our worth isn't tied to flawless execution, but to the simple, present act of being here, doing our best within the flow of this moment. The stress that came from believing should was true begins to loosen its grip. This quiet act of questioning, who decided? Does it serve me? Creates the very space where true freedom lives. It is the gentle bridge from the habit of judgment to the practice of pure observation. As you notice the next should thought arise, don't push it away or chase it. Simply ask the question. Feel the subtle shift as the rigid rule softens into a simple awareness. This is the natural preparation for the next step, to simply observe the thought, like a cloud passing through the sky, without adding another layer of judgment. You are already learning to let go, one gentle question at a time, in the quiet space of this very moment. In the quiet space between words, we find a different kind of presence. When the busyness of our minds races ahead, crafting the perfect reply while someone speaks, we miss the very essence of connection. This is the subtle trap of perfectionism. Not in the outcome, but in the very act of listening. We hear the words, yes, but our inner voice is already rehearsing its flawless response, judging the speaker's words or rehearsing how to shine. The conversation becomes a performance, not a meeting of minds. This is not mindfulness, it is a subtle form of self-centeredness, where the focus shifts from understanding to being understood, from being present to being impressive. Consider a simple moment. Dear friend. Two people sit together. One speaks of a challenge they face. The other, caught in the grip of perfectionism, hears the words but immediately begins shaping their own wise, helpful, and perfectly timed response. Their eyes might be on the speaker, but their attention is already far away in the future, constructing the ideal answer. They miss the slight hesitation in the speaker's voice, the unspoken worry beneath the words. The speaker feels unheard, perhaps even a little unseen. The connection falters because the listener was never truly there. Now, imagine the opposite. The listener breathes softly, anchors in the feeling of their own breath, and simply opens their ears and heart. They hear the words, the tone, the pause, the unspoken weight. They don't need to fix it or prove their insight. They simply hear. The speaker feels seen, understood, and the conversation flows naturally from a place of genuine meeting. This is the practice we offer in this moment. In your next conversation, choose to listen without planning your perfect reply. Hear the words, not the perfect reply you're crafting. Notice when your mind begins to draft that ideal response. Feel the subtle tension of wanting to be right, to be helpful, to be impressive. Gently acknowledge that tension, perhaps with a soft breath, and return your attention to the person speaking. Listen to understand, not to impress. Listen to the meaning, the feeling, the human being before you, not to your own internal script. It is not about silence, it is about presence. It is about letting the words land without the immediate need to shape them into something perfect. The beauty lies in the imperfect, honest exchange, not in the flawless delivery. This simple shift, focusing on understanding, not on being the perfect listener, dissolves the pressure, softens the inner critic, and opens the door to true connection. Try it now, in your next small talk, in the next moment of shared space. Notice the automatic pull to respond perfectly. Pause. Breathe softly into your belly. Let the words simply be there, without your mind adding its own polished layer. Feel the relief as you release the need to perform. Feel the connection deepen as you truly hear. This practice of listening without judgment, without the inner script of perfection, is where we begin to see our own thoughts not as rigid commands, but as passing clouds. As we listen without judgment, we learn to observe our own thoughts without criticism. Consider the quiet space we created in the last moments, where we gently question the weight of should thoughts. We saw them not as commands from truth, but as habits we could release, freeing ourselves from the tight grip of self-judgment. Now, as we move deeper into the landscape of our minds, let us explore a simple, powerful phrase that can transform our relationship with challenge and growth. Not yet. It is not a whisper of defeat, but a gentle invitation woven into the fabric of possibility. In the heart of a Zen monastery, a young monk struggled for weeks to master the delicate art of polishing a single bowl. His hands trembled. The surface remained rough, and frustration mounted. Each failed attempt echoed with the old, familiar voice, "I cannot do this." One morning, his teacher observed the monk's defeated posture and simply said, "Try again. You cannot polish this bowl yet." The monk paused, the words settling like a cool stone in his mind. He didn't hear failure. He heard a clear path forward. The next day, he returned, not with the old despair, but with a quiet resolve. "I cannot polish this bowl yet." He focused only on the next small, mindful touch of the cloth against the clay. He didn't aim for perfection in the moment, he aimed for the next step. Slowly, the bowl's surface smoothed, not in a single burst, but through countless small moments of not yet, each one a step towards the whole. This is the wisdom we carry within. When the inner critic shouts, "I can't do this," let us gently, with kindness, soften the edge and whisper back, "I can't do this yet." It shifts the entire landscape. Instead of a dead end, not yet becomes a bridge. It allows us to breathe, to see the path ahead without the crushing weight of immediate mastery. It replaces the paralysis of "I can't" with the quiet hope of "I will learn." Reflect with me now, when did the phrase "not yet" feel like hope, not limitation? Perhaps it was the first time you finally understood a complex idea after many attempts, or the moment you realized you could speak a new language fluently after years of stumbling. Maybe it was when you learned to mend a broken relationship, understanding that trust needed time, not instant repair. In those moments, "not yet" wasn't a stop sign. It was the very breath of potential, the quiet assurance that growth is unfolding, step by step, right here in the present. This gentle shift from "I can't" to "I can't do this yet" is not about lowering standards. It is about freeing ourselves from the tyranny of the perfect moment. It allows us to engage fully with the task before us, without the exhausting pressure to be flawless from the start. It creates space for the imperfect, authentic effort that is the true essence of practice. It is the foundation for truly being present with one thing, one breath, one task at a time. The wisdom of "not yet" prepares our minds to move beyond the frantic juggling of endless demands. It invites us to find the profound peace and clarity that comes from focusing fully on the single task, right here, right now, knowing that the next step is always within reach. This is the gentle preparation for the single tasking that will guide us through the chaos of our busy world. Feel the constant pull of modern life pulling you in 10 directions at once. Your phone buzzes with messages, your email inbox pulses with new demands, and your mind races ahead to the next task before the current one is even begun. You feel busy, yet somehow unaccomplished, caught in a cycle of jumping between things, chasing productivity but never quite landing. This is the illusion of multitasking, a myth that leaves us scattered and exhausted. True focus, the quiet strength of presence, arises not from doing many things at once, but from doing one thing completely. Let us try a simple practice, rooted in ancient wisdom, to gently release this frantic habit. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Choose one small task only, perhaps writing one email, watering a plant, or simply listening to the rain. Begin. And when your mind starts to leap to the next thing, gently return to the single task, noticing the subtle shift as you settle. You might feel the frantic energy of your mind slow, a quiet stillness, settling where there was once turbulence. This isn't about achieving perfection in the task. It's about discovering the peace that comes from being fully here, now, with whatever you're doing. It is the essence of mindful presence, found not in the grand gesture, but in the simple act of returning, again and again, to this one moment. Imagine a Zen master in a quiet garden, polishing a single bowl. His hands move with deep attention, not rushing to polish another bowl, but fully present with this one. He does not think about the next bowl, nor judge the current one as imperfect. He simply polishes the bowl before him, and in that focused attention, the bowl becomes a thing of beauty, not because it is flawless, but because it is held with complete care. His work is not done faster, yet it is done with a profound sense of completion. This is the power of single tasking. It is not about working longer hours, but about working with the full weight of your attention on the single point before you. When you practice this for 25 minutes, you are not just completing a task, you are training your mind to rest in the present. You notice the subtle tension in your shoulders ease as you stop the frantic mental jumping. You notice the quiet hum of the present moment, the sound of your breath, the feel of the pen in your hand. There is a gentle liberation in realizing you do not need to be everywhere at once. The task itself, when approached with this singular focus, becomes its own reward. It is enough. This moment is enough. Try it now, if you can. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Choose one small, ordinary thing. Begin. Notice the mind's tendency to wander, the pull towards the next thing. Gently, without judgment, return to your single task. When the timer rings, pause and notice the quiet calm that has settled within you. Did you feel the mind's restlessness soften? Did the task feel less like a burden and more like a simple, clear act? This is the practice, not perfection, but presence. Not more tasks completed, but a deeper connection to the one task you are doing. You are not failing because your mind wanders. You are succeeding by noticing and returning. This is how we build the deep, steady focus that allows us to meet every moment with clarity and calm. It is the quiet foundation for truly being here, fully present in all that we do. This quiet focus builds the foundation for mindful presence in every moment, preparing us to meet the next task, the next conversation, the next breath, with the same clear, unhurried awareness. As we continue our journey through the ordinary moments of this busy life, let us gently turn our attention inward during the simple acts we already do. After learning to focus fully on one task, like washing the dishes without rushing, we discover a new space within ourselves. In this space, thoughts arise just as naturally as breath. There may be the familiar whisper of perfectionism saying, "Your dishes aren't clean enough," or "Your email isn't perfect yet," or "This moment isn't quite right." Instead of grasping at these thoughts or pushing them away, we simply notice them. See them as clouds drifting across the vast sky of your awareness. There one moment, gone the next. No need to fix them, no need to chase them. This is the quiet art of observing thoughts without judgment. Imagine standing at the sink, washing a single plate. You feel the warm water, the smooth ceramic under your fingers. Then, a thought appears. You should be doing something else right now. Notice the tightness in your shoulders as this thought arrives. Instead of immediately arguing with it or feeling ashamed for having it, softly name it. Say to yourself, perhaps just in your mind, there's the perfectionism thought. Not, why do I think this? Or, I shouldn't feel this way. But simply, there's the perfectionism thought. This small act of naming creates a gentle distance. You are not the thought. You are the awareness holding it. The thought is just passing through, like a cloud, and you are the calm sky that holds it without being disturbed. Reflect on your own day. When did you notice a thought without immediately criticizing it? Perhaps it was a moment while walking to your car, and you caught yourself thinking, "I should have left earlier," yet you didn't beat yourself up for it. Or maybe while listening to a colleague, you noticed the urge to correct them, but simply observed it before speaking. These small moments are the seeds of change. They are not about achieving a perfect state of non-judgment, but about recognizing the habitual pull of criticism and choosing a different path, even for a single breath. When you notice that thought without adding another layer of judgment, you feel a subtle shift. The tightness eases. The weight of should lifts. You are simply present with what is, not with what you imagine should be. This practice is not about emptying the mind or forcing calm. It is about meeting each thought, especially the critical ones, with a soft, curious attention. It is about understanding that the thought is not the truth of your worth or your ability. The perfectionism thought is just a thought, a passing weather pattern, not a command. By labeling it gently, you step out of the cycle of self-judgment that fuels our frantic multitasking. You return to the dish in your hands, the breath in your lungs, the reality of this single moment. This is how mindfulness becomes a living practice within your routine, not a separate hour of sitting. When you observe thoughts without judgment, you transform your relationship with the task itself, the dishwashing, the email, the meeting. These become less about achieving flawlessness and more about engaging fully with what is here, now. The stress of getting it perfect dissolves because you are no longer fighting the thought or the task. You are simply doing the next right thing, with your whole attention, without the exhausting burden of perfection. This practice transforms how we engage with daily tasks, making them less stressful, more peaceful, and deeply human. It is the quiet wisdom that allows us to move through our busy world with a gentle heart, knowing that the moment we are in is already whole. As you sit down to eat, notice how often your mind is already elsewhere. Perhaps you glance at your phone, planning your next task, or mentally critique the meal before it even reaches your mouth. In our relentless modern rhythm, even eating becomes another item to check off, another moment to perfect. But what if the true nourishment isn't found in the flawless presentation or the perfectly timed bite, but in simply being here, with the food before you? This is the gentle revolution of mindful eating. It begins not with grand gestures, but with one single bite, taken slowly, without the rush. Let your attention settle on the taste that blooms on your tongue, the texture that yields or crumbles, the gentle warmth or coolness against your palate. Notice the steam rising softly from your bowl, the subtle scent of the ingredients. There is no need for perfection in this act. It is enough to be present with what is. We often mistake the absence of judgment for the presence of flaw, believing that if we cannot eat perfectly, we are failing. But mindfulness reveals the opposite. The act of eating slowly, without distraction, is itself a perfect expression of care. It is the quiet rebellion against the tyranny of more and better, showing us that good enough is not a compromise, but a profound release. It is the realization that the food is already nourishing you, right now, in this ordinary moment. A Zen master once spoke of a simple bowl of rice. He ate it not to achieve a state of perfect mindfulness, but simply to taste the rice. He noticed the slight stickiness, the faint earthiness, the way the grain softened in his mouth. He did not judge the rice for being too plain or too ordinary. He simply experienced it, as it was. This is the heart of the practice. It is not about eating slowly to be better at eating. It is about remembering that the act of eating is already complete, already perfect in its simplicity. You might try this today. Choose one meal or one small portion for just 5 minutes. Set aside your phone, your thoughts about the next thing, and simply eat. Focus only on the sensory experience of that one bite. Notice the flavors, the textures, the sensation of chewing. If your mind wanders to the email waiting or the next meeting, gently return to the taste in your mouth. This small act of anchoring yourself in the immediate, in the simple sensation of nourishment, replaces the frantic energy of perfectionism with a deep, quiet calm. It teaches you that you do not need to control every detail of the meal to find peace. You simply need to be here, with the food, with the moment. The perfection you seek is not found in the flawless meal or the perfect focus, but in the gentle rhythm of your own presence. This simple practice of mindful eating, this quiet attention to a single bite, becomes a bridge. It shows you that the perfection you have been searching for is not out there, waiting to be achieved. It is right here, in the ordinary, in the simple act of being fully present with what you have. Mindful eating teaches us to find perfection in the simple act of being present. Consider the morning ritual you might rush through. Your coffee cup in hand, eyes fixed on a phone screen, already planning the next task. Now pause. Notice the steam rising in the cool air. Hear the gentle rhythm of rain against the window pane. Feel the warmth of the cup in your palms. This is not an afterthought moment. It is the very heart of perfection, not the flawless execution we chase, but the authentic reality of this ordinary, unremarkable now. The rain is simply rain. The coffee is simply coffee. There is no need to make it more, no pressure to be extraordinary. It is already perfect in its simplicity, its realness. This is the quiet revolution of Zen wisdom. It asks us to stop searching for the special moment hidden in the future and to find the extraordinary already present in the ordinary now. Perfectionism demands we polish every detail until it shines unnaturally. Zen reveals that the most profound beauty resides in the unpolished, the unmanufactured, the simply true, the way the light falls on your kitchen table at this specific hour. The sound of a bird singing just outside. The slight warmth of your skin after stepping from the shower. These are not distractions from your important work. They are the very substance of life itself. They are the perfect moment you have been overlooking while chasing an impossible ideal. Let the idea of perfect fade. It was never about the absence of imperfection. It was always about presence. It was always about tasting the coffee without the need to be somewhere else. It was always about hearing the rain without wishing it would stop. This is the gentle rebellion against the tyranny of more and better. It is the quiet courage to say, "This is enough, right here, right now." So take a breath. Feel the solid earth beneath your feet as you stand. Notice the texture of the fabric of your clothes. Let the sound of your own breathing fill the space between thoughts. Where in your day, in the ordinary flow, did you feel a flicker of contentment? Not in a grand achievement, but in a simple, unremarkable pause. Perhaps it was the quiet moment after your child fell asleep, the soft light of the hallway. Maybe it was the shared silence with a friend over a simple meal, the taste of bread and salt. Maybe it was walking home in the rain, feeling the cool drops on your face. The world slowed to the sound of each step. That moment was not perfect because it was planned or flawless. It was perfect because it was real. Because you were fully present, not lost in the need to improve it or make it last longer. It was perfect because it simply was. This is the wisdom that dissolves the pressure of perfectionism. It is not about achieving a state of flawless calm. It is about recognizing that calm is already here, in the ordinary rhythm of being alive. It is about releasing the invisible burden we carry to be always on and perfect, and discovering that resting in the simple reality of this moment is the deepest form of peace. This contentment, this deep sense of enough found in the ordinary, naturally leads to letting go of the digital distractions that fuel our perfectionism. The constant ping of notifications, the scroll through curated lives, the need to capture and share the perfect moment, it all fades when we realize the perfect moment has always been the one we are living, right here, right now, without the need to make it something else. The phone can wait. The next task can wait. The rain continues to fall. The coffee cools. And in that space, without the pressure to be perfect, we find our truest, most peaceful presence. We move through our days wrapped in the tight knot of expectation, chasing a flawless version of ourselves in a world that never pauses. The pressure to be perfect, to execute everything perfectly, becomes a heavy weight we carry with every task. But what if the very act of trying, the simple presence of your effort, is already the practice? What if the pursuit of perfection is the distraction itself, pulling you away from the moment you are living? True practice isn't about reaching some distant, flawless destination. It is found right here in the honest, imperfect effort you offer now. The goal of perfection is a mirage. The effort is the path. Consider the old Zen master preparing tea for a guest. His hands, steady for decades, fumble slightly. The teapot slips. A single drop of hot water spills onto the wooden table. He stops, looks at the small stain, then calmly wipes it away with a cloth, pours the tea into the cup, and offers it with a gentle bow. The guest, expecting the flawless ritual, notices the spill and feels a moment of disappointment. The master, however, sees only the tea being served, the moment shared. He says nothing about the spill, for it was not the point. The cup is not the point. The effort to serve, the presence in the act of pouring, the quiet acceptance of the small stumble, that is the tea ceremony. The spill was merely a moment in the flow, not a failure of the practice. The effort was whole, even with the imperfection. This is the heart of accepting imperfect efforts. It is not about settling for less. It is about recognizing that the attempt itself holds value, that the striving in the present moment is the true work. It is about turning away from the harsh judgment that says, "You should have done it perfectly," and instead whispering to yourself, "I tried, and that's enough. Pause now." Recall a time you felt a quiet pride, not in a flawless outcome, but in the genuine effort you gave, even when things were messy or uncertain. Perhaps it was helping a neighbor with a task you weren't skilled at, speaking up in a meeting when your voice trembled, or simply showing up for someone when you felt tired. What made that imperfect effort feel meaningful? Was it the courage to try? The connection made? The simple act of giving your all, flaws and all? That feeling of pride, it came not from perfection, but from the authenticity of the effort itself. It came from acknowledging, "I tried, and that's enough." This quiet acceptance, this gentle release from the burden of needing to be flawless, is where deeper wisdom begins to bloom. It is not a passive resignation. It is an active, loving embrace of the real, the human, the ever-changing present. When we stop demanding perfection from our efforts, we stop chasing a phantom self that must be perfect. We begin to see that the effort itself, offered without the weight of expectation, is the practice, the path, and in that seeing, the illusion of a fixed, perfect self we are trying to achieve starts to dissolve. This acceptance reveals the deeper truth: there is no fixed, perfect self to achieve. The practice is the path, the effort is the destination, and the present moment, with all its beautiful imperfections, is where we truly live. The journey of letting go begins not with the perfect step, but with the imperfect, honest one we take right now. Imagine the quiet hum of your morning routine. You pour tea, notice the steam rising, and for a moment feel perfectly settled. Then a thought arises: I should be calmer, more focused, more like the person I think I ought to be. This familiar tug towards a fixed ideal is the root of our struggle. Today, we gently explore anatta, the profound Zen teaching that means no fixed self. It is not a theory, but a lived truth. You are not the same person you were yesterday, nor will you be the same person tomorrow. Yourself is a river, not a statue. Consider the ancient tea master who sat before a simple bowl. One morning, he noticed his hands trembled slightly as he poured. A wave of frustration arose. I must be steady, perfect for this moment. Then, watching the tea swirl, he saw clearly. The trembling hand was part of the moment, not a flaw to be erased. The master realized the perfect tea master he imagined was a fixed idea, an illusion. His true self, the one pouring tea right now, was simply present, with its natural movements, its moments of calm and its moments of tremor. The bowl held the tea, the tremor, and the master all together. There was no need to fix the trembling, because it was simply part of the unfolding now. This is our practice. We are not the perfect version we strive for, nor the imperfect version we criticize. We are the ever-changing flow of experience. Your imperfect moments, those times you feel clumsy, distracted, or unsure, are not failures. They are the very texture of your evolving self. They are the moments where you are most authentically here, right now. Try this. Take a quiet moment. Write down one thing you used to be, but are not anymore. Perhaps you no longer see yourself as the anxious person you were 5 years ago, or the rigidly structured one from last month. Write it simply. Then, with warmth, add, and that is okay. I am grateful for this change. Celebrate it. This small act of acknowledging your own evolution is a deep bow to the truth of anatta. When we understand that there is no fixed, perfect self to uphold, the immense pressure to maintain a flawless image dissolves. The exhausting effort to be always right, always calm, always the same, simply falls away. We are freed to simply be as we are, in this breath, this moment, with all our natural imperfections and changes. We stop fighting the river and begin to flow with it. This insight is not about giving up effort, but about releasing the tight grip on a self that never existed. It is the gentle liberation found in knowing that your practice, your presence, your very being, is already whole. You are not becoming perfect. You are simply being, and that is enough. This understanding dissolves the pressure to maintain a perfect image of yourself. We carry past mistakes like stones in our pockets, each one heavy with the weight of should have and what if. We mistake the echo of a misstep for the shape of who we are, forgetting that in the flow of being, we are never fixed. This is where Zen wisdom gently lifts the veil. Anatta, the teaching that there is no permanent, unchanging self, dissolves the illusion that a single error defines us. That mistake you made, it was a moment of action, not your essence. It was data, not identity. You made a mistake, not that you're a mistake. The weight lifts when we see clearly. The mistake belongs to the situation, not to the ever-changing river of your presence. Consider the potter shaping clay. She feels the cool, yielding earth, aware that every curve and unevenness is part of the process. If a bowl tilts slightly, she does not cry, "I am a flawed potter." She sees the tilt as information, a clue about the clay's nature or her hand's movement. She breathes, feels the cool air fill her lungs, and asks softly, "What can I learn now to shape this next moment?" She does not dwell on the tilt, but uses it to refine her next touch. The clay holds no shame for its uneven curve. It simply is what it is, a part of the whole. This is the heart of practice, to meet each moment, including its imperfections, with the same clear, unhurried attention. So, take a gentle breath now. Feel your feet on the ground, the rhythm of your breath. Bring to mind a past moment that still carries a faint ache, not to relive the pain, but to see it clearly as the potter sees the clay. What was the mistake? Now, shift the lens. What did that moment teach you? Perhaps it taught you patience when rushing, or the value of listening before speaking. Maybe it revealed a hidden strength you didn't know you had. That lesson, learned through the stumble, became a foundation for something better. It was not a failure. It was the necessary path to understanding. The past mistake was simply a stepping stone you have already walked over. It no longer needs to hold you. This release is not about forgetting. It is about freeing the present moment from the burden of what was. It is the quiet, deep relief of understanding that the river flows, carrying all its moments, both smooth and rocky, without holding any single one as the truth of the water. When we stop identifying with the ripple of a past mistake, the space within us opens. The mind, no longer cluttered with old regrets, becomes clear and available. This lightness, this spaciousness, is the very ground from which the next practice can grow. It creates the room for what truly matters now. And it is here, in this unburdened presence, that we find the strength to step away from the constant pull of the screen, to truly rest, and to be fully here, exactly as we are. Notice the weight you carry in your shoulders, the subtle tension behind your eyes as you chase that flawless moment, that perfect outcome. This striving isn't weakness, it's the echo of a deep-seated belief that a fixed, perfected version of yourself must exist, waiting to be found. But Zen wisdom, drawn from the profound teaching of anatta, reveals this very belief as the source of our struggle. Anatta means there is no permanent, unchanging self to perfect. We are not a statue carved from stone. We are the ever-flowing river, constantly shaped by the present moment. The idealized self we chase is a mirage, a concept that dissolves the instant we try to grasp it. True peace arises not from building that illusion, but from releasing the effort to hold it steady. Letting go isn't surrendering, it's the active, conscious choice to step out of the exhausting chase for perfection and step into the spaciousness of what is. Consider the Zen tea ceremony, where the focus isn't on a flawlessly shaped bowl, but on the mindful presence in the act of pouring. A master might use a simple, slightly chipped cup, not because it's broken, but because the imperfection is part of its truth and its story. They don't wrestle with the chip. They simply hold the cup, pour the water, and meet the moment as it is. This isn't passive resignation. It's active engagement with reality, free from the burden of what the cup should be. It's the quiet confidence that the essence of the tea, The warmth of the gesture, the shared presence, matters far more than the absence of a microscopic flaw. The perfection we seek in our actions is often a mirror reflecting our own anxiety, not the nature of the moment itself. So, let this truth meet your daily life. Do one small thing today that you would normally over-polish, over-analyze, or delay until it feels perfect. Notice the impulse to revise, to tweak, to make it just right. Feel the familiar pressure rise. Then, gently, consciously choose to let it go. Send the email without rereading it. Trust your first effort, the one that came from your genuine place in the moment. Feel the slight tremor in your finger as you click send, the release that follows the momentary fear of imperfection. This is the practice. It's not about neglecting care. It's about recognizing that your care, your intention, is already present in the first attempt. The email is a message, not a monument. Your effort, offered freely, is enough. The relief that follows, the lightness as you move on to the next task, without the weight of the unedited draft, is the taste of peace you've been seeking. It is the living embodiment of anatta, recognizing that the fixed, perfect self was never the reality, only the illusion we were holding on to. This active release, this gentle trust in the imperfect present, becomes the very ground for your engagement. It transforms your relationship with your work, your relationships, your very sense of being. You move from the exhausting effort of building a perfect facade to the authentic ease of being fully present, exactly as you are, in this moment. Now we address how digital life amplifies this very perfectionism through constant comparison, making the practice of letting go even more essential as we navigate our connected world. In the quiet space between thoughts, where the hum of notifications has finally stilled, a gentle shift occurs. Remember the release we cultivated in Chapter 7? How we saw mistakes not as permanent stains, but as temporary moments, and how that unburdened presence became our anchor. That same spacious clarity, that quiet liberation from the chase for perfection, meets its greatest challenge now in the constant glow of our screens. Our digital world, with its curated perfection and endless comparison, whispers that we must be flawless, always. It fuels the very perfectionism we've begun to soften. Today, we step away, not to reject technology, but to reclaim the most precious resource we've been giving away, our attention. Imagine a simple bowl of tea. In the Zen tradition, a monk might sit with it, noticing the steam, the warmth, the sound of the water. He doesn't chase the perfect temperature or the flawless cup. He simply is with the tea, present in the moment it offers. Now, picture that monk putting down his bowl for a while. What happens? The space around him feels different, quieter, more open. The mental chatter that filled the space while he was focused on the bowl's perfection fades. He notices the light through the window, the sound of a bird, the simple fact of his own presence. This is the space that opens when we turn off notifications for 2 hours. It's not about deleting apps or abandoning the digital world. It's about deliberately stepping out of the relentless stream of curated perfection to rediscover the uncurated space within ourselves. Try this simple practice. Choose 1 hour this week. Turn off all non-essential notifications on your phone. Silence the endless pings and alerts that pull you into the comparison trap. For those 2 hours, let your attention rest. Feel the weight of your body on the chair. Notice the rhythm of your breath, or simply sit with the quiet. Then, replace 30 minutes of scrolling, that habit of seeking perfection in others' lives, with something simple and grounding. Step outside for a walk. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Observe the trees without judgment. Let your gaze wander without the need to capture or compare. Or sit quietly with a cup of tea, noticing its warmth, its aroma, the act of simply being present. There is no goal, no perfect way to do this. Just the gentle act of stepping away from the noise and stepping into the quiet. As you do this, notice the subtle shift. The tightness in your shoulders may soften. The constant low-level anxiety about what you're missing or how you measure up might lessen. You begin to feel the spaciousness we spoke of in Chapter 7, the clarity that arises when we stop chasing an impossible standard. You realize that the mental space opening isn't empty. It's filled with the simple, unremarkable reality of now. This quiet presence, this reclaimed attention, is not a luxury. It's the foundation for truly engaging with life as it is, imperfect and beautiful in its fleeting moments. It's where peace arises, not in the absence of distraction, but in the conscious choice to return to ourselves. When we step away from the curated feeds, we see how comparison fuels the perfectionism we've been releasing. The digital detox isn't an escape, it's a necessary return. It reveals the hidden current of comparison that keeps us chasing a fixed, perfected self, showing us the very trap we need to step out of. This reclaimed attention, this quiet space, becomes the clear mirror in which we see our own true, imperfect, and perfectly ordinary presence. It is here, in the stillness after the notifications fade, that we find the peace we've been seeking all along. As your finger glides across the screen, a stream of perfectly framed moments flows past. Sun-drenched vacations, effortless meals, laughter in sunlit rooms. You pause, feeling a familiar pull to measure your own life against these polished snapshots. This is the social media comparison trap, a subtle current pulling us away from our own shores. The images we scroll through are carefully curated highlights, not the full, messy, beautiful tapestry of real life. They show the polished surface, not the quiet struggles, the unplanned moments, the ordinary grace of being human. We forget that behind every perfect post lies a story unseen, a reality often far from the image presented. Ask yourself gently, is this comparison serving me or draining me? Let this question settle like a stone in still water. Does it fuel your sense of possibility, or does it tighten your chest with a quiet ache of inadequacy? Reflect on a time when scrolling made you feel worse about your own life. Remember the moment your heart sank after seeing someone else's seemingly flawless day. while your own felt ordinary, even dull. That moment holds a key. It reveals the hidden cost. We trade our own presence for someone else's performance. We become observers of a life that isn't ours, mistaking the highlight reel for the whole story, and forgetting that our own life, with its imperfect moments, is the only one we truly inhabit. In the Zen garden, a monk prepares tea not to compare his cup with another's, but to fully meet the warmth of his own. He doesn't wonder if his tea is better than the neighbor's. He simply tastes the water, the leaves, the quiet moment. The tea is what it is, no more, no less. This is the practice we reclaim online, to step back from the curated feed and return to the uncurated reality of our own experience. It's not about deleting the app, but about shifting the lens. When you feel the pull to compare, pause. Feel the breath. Ask, does this serve me? Then, gently, close the app or turn the phone face down. Notice the space that opens. In that quiet, uncurated space, the frantic need to measure yourself against others begins to soften. The mental noise fades, revealing the spacious clarity that was always there beneath the surface of the comparison. Breaking free from this trap isn't about rejecting technology. It's about reclaiming your attention and your peace. It's recognizing that every scroll that drains you is a moment you could spend truly seeing your own life right here, right now. When you stop measuring your garden against someone else's perfect landscape, you finally see your own flowers, your own soil, your own unique, unfolding path. This quiet liberation, this gentle release of the comparison trap, is the very ground from which we can begin to see beyond the rigid judgments of right and wrong in our own self-perception. It's the moment we step out of the mirror and into the light of our own being. As you settle into your space after noticing those subtle moments when social media feeds pull you into comparison, pause gently. You've already begun to see how those curated glimpses into others' lives create a quiet pressure, a whisper that your own path isn't quite enough. This is where the true liberation begins, not by turning away from the digital world, but by turning inward with a different eye. Comparison is a thief of your unique journey, stealing the quiet joy of your own unfolding moment. It steals the simple peace of walking your path without measuring it against someone else's map. Imagine a bamboo forest. Each stalk grows at its own pace, reaching for the light in its own way. One might be taller, another more slender, one leaning gently toward the sun, another standing straighter. We often look at the tallest one, forgetting the others, and feel our own growth is lacking. But the forest thrives because every bamboo is exactly where it needs to be, contributing to the whole in its own distinct way. Your life is that bamboo forest. Your unique rhythm, your specific challenges, your quiet moments of grace, they are not less than anyone else's. They are simply yours. When you notice the urge to compare rising, as it often does when scrolling through a highlight reel, pause. Don't judge yourself for feeling it. Simply notice the thought, I'm comparing. Then, gently ask yourself, What's my path right now? Not what someone else's path looks like, but what is true for you in this very moment. Is it a quiet cup of tea? A difficult conversation? A moment of rest? This question anchors you in your own reality, not in the curated fiction of another's. Try this simple practice today. As you close your screen tonight, before sleep, name one thing you are grateful for about your own life. Not the idealized version you see online, but the real, ordinary, imperfect, beautiful thing happening right now. Perhaps it's the warmth of your hands on your coffee mug, the sound of rain on the roof, the fact that you had a moment to breathe. Share it with yourself. Truly feel it. This isn't about forcing positivity. It's about shifting your focus from the external to the internal, from the comparison to the concrete reality of your own life. It's a small act of reclaiming your attention, your peace, your unique journey. Watching the bamboo grow in its own time, you'll notice how this simple shift releases the need for external validation, deepening your inner peace. You begin to understand that your worth isn't measured in likes or perfect moments, but in the quiet, steady presence of living fully in your own life, exactly as it is. The forest doesn't need one bamboo to be like another. It needs all of them to be themselves. Your life, too, is complete as it is. This is the wisdom that settles in, not in grand pronouncements, but in the gentle return to your own path, one grateful moment at a time. Imagine your morning routine unfolding like a carefully plotted map on your phone screen. You check the weather app, plan your route, schedule every minute. Then the bus is late, the coffee spills, the meeting shifts. Your mind tightens, grasping for the perfect sequence that vanished. This is the trap of perfectionism in our digital age, believing life must follow the smooth, curated path we imagine, not the messy, breathing reality we inhabit. True peace comes not from controlling every detail, but from learning to walk gently through the unplanned turns. In Zen, we understand that rigid plans often crumble like dry leaves before the wind. The garden does not grow according to our perfect sketches. It responds to the rain, the sun, the unexpected storm. A gardener who only tends to the planned rose misses the wildflower that blooms beautifully in the unplowed corner. A surprise gift from the earth itself. What we call a detour is simply life unfolding as it always does, offering a new path we never saw coming. See the delayed train not as a failure, but as the quiet invitation to notice the person sitting beside you, the sound of rain on the roof, the moment of stillness you didn't plan for. See the missed deadline not as a mistake, but as the opening for a different, perhaps wiser, approach to emerge. This is the wisdom of embracing the unplanned. It is not passive resignation, but active presence in the moment that is actually here. When you release the need for everything to be perfectly ordered, you free yourself to truly see and feel the world as it is. Reflect gently on your own life. Remember a time when an unexpected shift, perhaps a cancelled trip, a sudden conversation, a forgotten item, led you somewhere you never intended to go, yet found something meaningful there? Was it a chance meeting that began a lasting friendship? A moment of forced stillness that brought unexpected clarity? A simple walk that revealed a hidden park you'd never noticed? These unplanned moments are not errors in the grand design. They are the very texture of life, the gentle unfolding of what is meant to be. They remind us that our journey is not a straight line on a map, but a winding path through a living forest. We do not need to control every step. We only need to walk with awareness, to meet each moment, planned or unplanned, with an open heart. This is how we reclaim our mental clarity. It is how we step out of the frantic comparison of curated feeds and step into the quiet certainty of our own lived experience. When we stop fighting the detour and begin to see it as part of the journey, we find a deep, quiet strength. We realize we are not failing because things don't go as planned. We are simply participating fully in the beautiful, imperfect, ever-changing flow of life. This flexibility, this gentle willingness to be present with what is, prepares us perfectly for the final integration of simplicity. It is the quiet foundation upon which we build a life that is not about adding more, but about being fully here, now, with all its unplanned beauty. In a world that demands your attention at every turn, the quiet space between decisions often feels like a luxury we cannot afford. Yet true presence begins not in grand gestures, but in the gentle simplification of the ordinary moments we navigate daily. Consider the weight of choosing what to wear each morning, the mental scroll through options seeking the perfect ensemble, the subtle anxiety of wondering if this choice aligns with some unseen standard. This small, repeated effort of decision-making, however minor, accumulates into a quiet mental clutter that pulls us away from the present moment. Simplicity here is not about deprivation. It is a conscious release of the burden of perfect. When we reduce the choices, we reduce the mental noise. Setting out your clothes the night before is not merely a practical habit. It is a quiet act of surrender to the present, releasing the need to control the smallest details of your day. Less choice means less energy spent on hypotheticals about what might be better, freeing your mind to simply be in the unfolding moment. Picture a morning ritual, the soft glow of dawn, the kettle beginning to hum, the familiar scent of tea leaves. Instead of reaching for 3 different cups, a fancy spoon, and a decorative tray, you choose just 1 cup, 1 simple spoon, and the kettle itself. You focus on the sound of water boiling, the warmth rising, the act of pouring. There is no thought of which cup is most elegant, only the direct experience of making tea. The steam rises, clear and simple, mirroring the clarity that comes from doing one thing with what is necessary. In this simplicity, the mind stops its restless search for perfection and rests in the actuality of the moment. The task becomes a practice, not a chore. You are not striving for an ideal image of a perfect morning. You are simply making tea, with your full attention resting in the warmth of the cup. The sound of the kettle, the quiet rhythm of the task, This is the invitation for you now. Tonight, as you prepare for tomorrow, pause for a moment. Choose one small routine that holds the weight of perfect decisions for you. Set out your clothes the night before, or the next time you make your morning coffee, use only the mug you have, the spoon you reach for first, the coffee you prefer. Do it with awareness, not as a chore, but as a gentle act of letting go. Notice the subtle shift as you move through the task without the internal debate. Feel the mental space that opens up, the quiet that wasn't there before. This is not about doing less, it is about doing what is essential, with full presence. The weight of perfect choices lifts, and in that space, you find a deeper connection to the simple act of living. You are not missing anything by using only what is necessary. You are discovering the richness that comes from being fully here with what is. When we simplify the routine, we create the space where rest is not an afterthought, but the natural state of being. This intentional simplicity is not the end, but the doorway. It is the quiet foundation from which we can truly step into the restful moments that follow, breathing freely in the uncluttered space we have made. In the quiet space between breaths, when the weight of endless to-do lists presses down, we often cling to a future that demands perfection. This tightness pulls us away from what is real, what is here now. Today, we practice a simple yet profound anchor, the sensory awareness exercise. It requires no special tools, only a moment of gentle attention. When you feel overwhelmed, pause. Name 3 things you see: the curve of a leaf against the window, the soft light on the wall, the pattern in your coffee cup. Then name 2 things you hear: the distant hum of traffic, the rustle of a passing breeze, the steady rhythm of your own breath. Finally, name 1 thing you feel: the solid support of your chair beneath you, the cool air on your skin, the quiet stillness within your chest. Hold this for 60 seconds. Do not judge the observations. Simply notice. This simple act dissolves the grip of perfectionist worries about what comes next. It pulls you gently from the future's demanding script into the quiet reality of this moment, where there is nothing to fix, nothing to make perfect. The steam rising from your cup, the sound of birds outside, the warmth of the wood under your palm, these are not distractions. They are the very ground of your presence, offering a refuge from the frantic chase for flawless outcomes. Try it now, even for a single minute. Let the details of the room, the sounds of the day, the subtle sensations of your body draw you back into the only place where peace is possible, right here, right now. Notice how the tightness in your shoulders softens as the mind releases its hold on the perfect future. See how the constant chatter about what should be fades when you simply allow what is to be seen. Hear the world without needing to control it. Feel the earth beneath you, steady and unchanging, while your thoughts swirl. This is not about ignoring responsibilities. It is about meeting them from a place of clarity, not exhaustion. The exercise is a small, daily return to the center, a reminder that presence is not found in the future's promise, but in the quiet hum of the present moment. It is the practice of being fully here, with all its imperfections, with all its simple, ordinary grace. This gentle anchor makes the space for something deeper, the quiet release of the pressure to perform, to be flawless, to have everything perfectly in order. When we rest in the sensory reality of now, we begin to understand that our worth is not tied to flawless execution. We are already whole, already enough, right in this imperfect, beautiful moment. This focused return to the senses is not a temporary escape. It is the foundation for living with lightness, for moving through the world with the ease of a leaf carried by a gentle stream. It prepares us to release the heavy burden of performance, to walk through life with a calm serenity, knowing that true peace is found not in perfect control, but in the simple, profound act of being fully present, exactly as we are. This is the quiet readiness to let go. In our busy modern world, we often mistake constant activity for progress, believing that rest is a luxury we cannot afford. Yet true sustainability comes not from endless striving, but from the gentle rhythm of effort and rest. This chapter invites you to reconsider rest, not as idleness, but as the essential foundation for all that we do. When we schedule just 10 minutes of rest each day, no guilt, no apology, we honor a natural law of the mind and body. This small act of intentional stillness is not a break from life, it is an investment in life's quality. Think of it as tending to the soil before planting the seed. Without this quiet space, even the most careful efforts can become strained, like a bowstring pulled too tight for too long. Consider the story of a Zen monk who spent years meticulously tending his garden, each plant arranged with precise care. One rainy afternoon, overwhelmed by the need for perfect order, he sat beneath a maple tree and simply felt the rain on his face. He did not think of the garden nor the next task. He was simply present with the cool drops, the scent of wet earth, the sound of leaves. After that quiet pause, he returned to his garden and noticed flaws he had missed before. The way the light caught a particular leaf, the natural curve of a vine. His work improved not because he worked harder, but because he had rested. This was not laziness, it was restoration. The rain had washed away the mental fog, revealing clarity he could not force. Reflect now on your own experience. When did rest actually improve your work quality? Perhaps it was a short walk after a difficult meeting, a quiet cup of tea before tackling a complex project, or simply stepping away from your desk to watch the clouds. Recall the moment you returned to your task feeling refreshed, your perspective clearer, your creativity flowing. That moment was not a waste. It was the necessary pause that allowed your mind to integrate and renew. Rest is not the opposite of productivity. It is its quiet companion. It is the breath between notes in a melody, the space that makes the music meaningful. Scheduling 10 minutes of rest daily is an act of profound self-respect. It is not about adding another item to your to-do list, but about honoring the fact that you are human, not a machine. Set a gentle reminder on your phone for 10 minutes of rest each evening. Sit quietly, close your eyes, listen to your breath, or simply look out a window. Do not worry about whether it feels productive. Simply be in that small space. You are practicing the art of being present without demand. You are training your mind to recognize that stillness is not absence, but presence in its most fertile form. This practice of rest deepens the presence you've cultivated through simplifying your choices and anchoring in sensory awareness. It is the natural next step in the journey towards sustainable effort. When you create space for rest, you release the subtle pressure to perform perfectly in every moment. You understand that perfection is not found in constant output, but in the balance of doing and being. The work itself becomes lighter, more fluid, because you are no longer carrying the weight of impossible expectations. You are simply here, now, with the clarity that rest brings. Creating space for rest naturally reduces the pressure to perform perfectly. It reminds us that life is not a race to be won, but a path to be walked with gentle attention. As you move through your day, remember the monk under the maple tree. Feel the rain on your own skin. Know that in that quiet moment of rest, you are not losing time, you are gathering it. In the constant hum of modern life, where every task feels like a performance judged by unseen eyes, we carry a heavy burden. We rush through the day, measuring our value by output, by approval, by how flawlessly we meet expectations. This relentless striving, this need to perform, is the very root of our exhaustion. It is the pressure that tightens our shoulders and clouds our mind. Today, let us gently release that pressure. Your worth is not measured by your output, by your success, or by the praise of others. It is inherent, simply because you are here, breathing, present. You are not your productivity. Notice the moment you begin to perform. Perhaps it is when you check your phone during a quiet task, seeking validation in the screen. Perhaps it is the slight tension in your jaw as you work to impress. In that moment, take a single breath. Feel the breath moving through your body, the solid ground beneath your feet. The simple sensation of your hands resting. Breathe into the physical reality of now, not into the future performance you are trying to achieve. This is the anchor, the return to yourself. Now, try this small practice. Choose one ordinary task you do daily. It could be making tea, washing a dish, or even typing an email. Do it without seeking approval, without thinking about how it will be seen. Do it only for the simple act of doing it. Feel the warmth of the cup in your hands. Hear the gentle sound of water. Notice the rhythm of your fingers on the keys. There is no audience, no need to be perfect. There is only the doing, the present moment unfolding. This is not idleness, it is a profound act of self-trust. It is the recognition that you're enough exactly as you are, right now, in this ordinary moment. When you do the task for yourself, without the burden of performance, something shifts. The pressure lifts. The frantic energy softens. You begin to experience the task not as a chore to be completed, but as a simple, mindful act. The focus becomes clear, not because you're striving harder, but because you are simply present. You are no longer trying to prove something to yourself or others. You are simply being. This release, this gentle letting go of the need to perform, is not a step backward. It is a deepening of presence. It is the natural unfolding of rest into action, without the exhaustion of striving. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your value is not dependent on outcome. As you practice this, you may notice how the pressure to perform has been a constant, low-grade anxiety, a background noise in your mind. Releasing it is like removing a heavy cloak you never knew you were wearing. The world doesn't change, but your experience of it does. Tasks become lighter, interactions more genuine, because you are no longer carrying the weight of performance. You are simply here. This quiet release, this deepening of presence through intentional simplicity, is the foundation for the next step. It is the natural preparation for the final chapter, where we will explore how this deep sense of presence and self-acceptance blossoms into a living, active compassion that flows into every corner of our daily life. When we stop performing for others, we open to truly seeing them and ourselves with kindness. In the quiet space between tasks, when the mind races with what still needs to be done, we often hear a familiar voice within. You should be further along. You should have done that better. This inner critic, sharp and relentless, is the quiet architect of perfectionism. It whispers that worth is earned through flawless execution, tightening the knot of stress in our shoulders. But what if we gently turned that voice around? What if we spoke to ourselves with the same kindness we'd offer a dear friend, worn out after a long day, struggling to meet their own impossible standards? Imagine them sitting with you, sharing their frustration, and instead of judgment, you simply say, "You're doing your best. It's okay to be tired." This small shift, replacing criticism with care, is the heart of gentle self-compassion. It doesn't mean ignoring effort, it means honoring it without demanding it be perfect. Criticism, that sharp edge, only deepens the need to be flawless. Compassion, however, is a soft rain that dissolves the pressure, freeing us to simply be where we are. Consider the Zen story of the monk polishing a stone bowl. For years, he worked on it. The stone rough, the bowl imperfect. Each stroke was careful. Yet he knew the bowl would never be perfectly smooth, never be like a porcelain one. One day, a visitor asked why he continued, knowing the bowl could never be flawless. The monk paused, his hands resting on the cool stone, and said, "I polish the bowl not to make it perfect, but to be present in the polishing." The bowl's natural imperfections, the grain of the stone, the slight unevenness, were part of its truth, not its flaw. He wasn't striving to erase the stone's nature. He was learning to see its beauty within the process. This is the wisdom we hold. Our efforts, like that bowl, are inherently imperfect. They are expressions of being human, not failures of performance. So pause now, as you might if a friend shared their struggle, Notice the critical voice rising. You missed that deadline. You spoke too softly. Then, gently, ask yourself, what would I say to my friend in this moment? Would I blame them for their tiredness? Or would I offer warmth, saying, this is hard right now, and you're doing what you can? That's the practice. It's not about dismissing the effort, but holding it with tenderness. When the mind says, you're not good enough, the compassionate response is, I see you trying. You're doing your best. This isn't self-indulgence. It's recognition of our shared humanity. It's the quiet understanding that we are not broken for being imperfect, but whole in our striving. This shift transforms everything. When we stop demanding perfection from ourselves, we stop seeing the world through a lens of judgment. The messy kitchen, the imperfect work, the hesitant words, they no longer signal failure. They become part of the gentle, unfolding flow of life. We begin to see effort not as a burden to be perfect, but as a gift to be offered exactly as it is. The world, too, becomes less of a place to fix and more of a place to be with all its beautiful, flawed grace. This gentle compassion, this deep honoring of our own imperfect humanity, is the foundation for truly seeing and caring for others. It is the quiet revolution that begins within, and it is the way we step fully into a sustainable, compassionate way of living, right here, right now. This compassion transforms how we see our efforts and the world around us. As we release the pressure of perfection, a gentle space opens within us. This liberation from performance anxiety, nurtured in the previous chapter, now allows us to see the world with fresh eyes. We begin to notice how deeply we cling to the idea of right and wrong, especially in our interactions with others and our own actions. Perfectionism thrives on this rigid framework, labeling moments as failures or successes, mistakes or triumphs. Yet Zen wisdom reveals this very dichotomy as a temporary construct, a mental cage we build around the fluid, ever-changing nature of life itself. When we call something wrong, we often create a barrier between ourselves and the present moment. The question becomes not whether something is right or wrong, but whether this judgment serves us or binds us. Does this thought about what should have been help me move forward with kindness? Or does it tighten the knot of frustration within me? Consider the simple act of pouring tea. A monk, focused on the precision of the gesture, spills a drop onto the table. Instantly, his mind cries out, "Wrong. I should have been more careful." This judgment creates a moment of tension, a small fracture in his presence. But what if he paused? What if he noticed the steam rising from the cup, the warmth in his hands, the gentle sound of the liquid flowing, and simply observed the spill without the label? The drop on the table is neither right nor wrong. It is simply a moment, part of the unfolding of this very act. The spill holds no inherent meaning beyond the moment it occurs. It is not a failure of the monk, nor a flaw in the tea. It is simply a drop. This is the shift, seeing beyond the judgment to the truth of what is, right here, right now. Try this gently in your own day. The next time you catch yourself thinking this is wrong about a situation, a choice, or even a feeling, pause. Breathe softly. Ask yourself, does this judgment help me or hurt me? Then, go deeper. What is the truth here, beyond the label? Perhaps the wrong moment reveals a need for patience, or a chance to offer kindness. Perhaps it simply shows that your hand trembled, and that tremor is part of being human. The truth might be that you tried your best with the awareness you had at that moment, and that effort, however imperfect, is whole. This practice of questioning the judgment, of seeking the truth beneath the label, dissolves the sharp edges of right and wrong. It replaces criticism with a soft, open curiosity. In this space, we find a profound relief. We stop measuring ourselves and others against impossible standards. We see the shared humanity in every imperfect action, every moment of uncertainty. The tightness in our chest loosens. The need to be right, to fix everything, to judge, begins to fade. We simply see, and in that seeing, a deep compassion arises, not for the situation, but for the whole, struggling, beautiful, imperfect human being navigating this world. This spaciousness, this gentle awareness beyond right and wrong, makes space for the final practice, finding joy and simplicity in the unvarnished truth of this very moment, exactly as it is. In the rush of our modern days, we often chase a flawless life, mistaking perfection for peace. We scroll through curated feeds, judge our own work, and feel the weight of never being quite enough. Yet true peace isn't found in the absence of flaws, but in the quiet embrace of what is. Today, let us gently turn away from that striving and notice the simple, imperfect moments already surrounding us. The warmth of a cup of tea held in your hands, the unexpected sound of a child's laugh echoing down the street, the soft light of morning filtering through the window as you pause for a breath. These are not small things. They are the very ground of our being, unadorned and alive. Perfectionism's emptiness comes from its relentless demand for something perfect, something that doesn't exist in the messy, beautiful flow of life. It leaves us feeling hollow, always reaching, never arriving. But when we release that demand, a different quality arises, a deep, quiet joy in the ordinary. This is the antidote to the ache of striving. It is not about achieving a perfect moment, but about allowing the imperfect moment to be exactly as it is and finding peace within it. Consider the story of a monk sitting in the garden, preparing tea for a guest. As he poured the hot water, a sudden gust of wind caught the teapot, spilling tea across the wooden table. His guest, expecting the monk to react with frustration or apology, waited. Instead, the monk simply laughed, a warm, genuine sound. He wiped the spill with a cloth, refilled the cup, and offered it with a smile. The moment was imperfect, yet it held a perfect peace. There was no need to fix it, no judgment of the spill. The tea was still warm. The air still carried the scent of rain, and the connection between host and guest remained whole. The spill wasn't a flaw to be erased. It was simply part of the moment, and in that simplicity, there was no room for anxiety. The monk's laughter wasn't about the tea. It was about the freedom of not needing it to be perfect. This is the invitation we carry now. Take 3 gentle breaths. Notice the world as it is, without adding a layer of judgment. What small, imperfect pleasure did you experience today? Perhaps it was the way sunlight touched your coffee cup as you took that first sip, or the shared glance with a colleague that brought a quiet smile. Maybe it was the sound of rain on the roof while you paused to breathe. These moments are not distractions from a perfect life. They are the life itself, already perfect in its imperfection. They do not require our approval or our fixing. They simply ask us to be present. So, as you move through your day, try this. Pause for just 1 minute. Let your awareness rest on a single small pleasure. Notice the warmth, the sound, the quiet hum of the ordinary. Then, later, take a moment to write down 3 simple pleasures you noticed today. Not grand achievements, but the small, unvarnished moments that already fill your day. When we stop chasing flawlessness and open to the imperfect beauty of now, joy flows naturally. It is not a reward for being perfect. It is the simple, profound truth of being alive, exactly as we are. This joy is the natural outcome of letting go of perfectionism. It is the gentle current beneath the surface of our busy world, waiting only for us to notice its presence. And in that noticing, we find not just peace, but a deep, unshakable belonging in the ordinary miracle of being here. As we carry the gentle peace found in embracing life's unvarnished moments, let us now turn our attention to the creative spark within us all. Too often, we treat our creative acts, the poems we write, the photographs we capture, the songs we hum, the meals we prepare, as if they must be flawless to hold value. We over-edit, we hesitate. We wait for a moment of perfect clarity before sharing, and in doing so, we silence the very authenticity that makes our work alive. True creativity does not bloom in sterile perfection, it flourishes in the fertile ground of imperfection. The perfect version we chase is a barrier, a cage built from fear of being seen as real. It demands a stillness that death, not life. Consider the story of a young Zen painter in a quiet mountain monastery. She spent years striving to capture the perfect, unbroken line of a single bamboo shoot in her ink paintings. Her brushstrokes were meticulous, controlled, yet her work felt cold, lifeless to her. One rainy afternoon, frustrated, she dropped her brush and simply watched the rain fall on the garden. She saw a single droplet hit a leaf, creating a tiny, imperfect ripple. Without thinking, she dipped her brush and made a single, bold stroke on her scroll. Letting it flow with the natural curve of her hand, a tiny smudge of ink where her hand trembled. This stroke, this imperfect mark, felt like the bamboo itself, alive, breathing, real. The painting, with its small flaw, became her most cherished work. It did not hide the human hand, it celebrated it. The ripple was not a mistake, it was the truth of the moment. This is the gift we offer ourselves and others when we let go of the need for perfection in our creative expression. Share your work as it is, not as the version you imagine might be worthy of praise. Let the slight tremor in your voice when you sing, the uneven line in your drawing, the unexpected word in your poem, the very things you might edit away, become the signature of your presence. These imperfections are not failures. They are the quiet evidence of your humanity. The gentle proof that you were truly here, engaged, feeling. Reflect on this now. When did an imperfect creative act feel most authentic to you? Was it a hastily written note to a friend? A song sung off-key in the shower? A photo taken without a second thought? A meal that was a little burnt but shared with laughter? In those moments, did you feel more connected to yourself, to others, to the simple beauty of being? That feeling, the warmth in your chest, the quiet joy is the essence of creativity, the very pulse of life itself. It is not found in the flawless, but in the real. So release the tight grip on the perfect outcome. Let your work breathe. Let it hold the soft edges of your effort, the warmth of your intention. In this letting go, you honor not only your creativity, but the shared human condition. You step away from the exhausting chase for flawlessness and step into the spacious, compassionate embrace of what is. With this, we complete our journey from the heavy burden of perfectionism to the light, enduring peace that comes from simply being present, real and whole in every moment.